Your phone screen cracks. Be honest, what's your first thought? Ugh, time to fix this, or okay, time for an upgrade? Because that split-second reaction, psychologists say it tells you something about your brain that you probably never noticed. See, some people look at a broken toaster, a wobbly chair, a jacket with a torn pocket, and their brain doesn't say trash. It says puzzle, and weirdly, it's not really about money. There are people who can easily afford a new one and still spend 3 hours on the kitchen floor with a screwdriver, just to save something that costs 15 bucks. So today we're breaking down the actual psychology of fixers, why some brains are just wired to repair instead of replace, what's really happening in your head when you do it, and honestly, by the end of this, you're going to know exactly which type you are. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting, because the obvious answer, they're just cheap, is actually wrong. Researchers looked into this, and the biggest predictor of whether someone repairs stuff wasn't income. It was something called stewardship, basically, feeling responsible for the things you own, like you're a caretaker, not just an owner. And behind that is a bias called the endowment effect. It's this weird thing our brains do where we automatically value something more just because it's ours, not because it's better, not because it's rare, just because we own it. But it goes deeper than that. There's this other concept psychologists call it the IKEA effect, named after, that IKEA. Basically, when you put effort into something, your brain refuses to believe that effort was wasted. So if you spend 2 hours fixing a lamp, your brain doesn't let you think that was pointless. It inflates the value of the lamp instead. That crooked, slightly held together with tape lamp becomes, in your head, basically priceless. Meanwhile, someone watching you might think, bro, it's a $15 lamp. But to you, it's proof that you can solve things. That's the real hook. Fixing isn't really about the object. It's about protecting your own sense of competence. And okay, real talk, if you had a grandparent who fixed everything, drop the sock egg in the comments if you know exactly what that means. Because there is a very specific generation of people who mended socks with an actual wooden egg, and if you know, you know. If you don't know, ask your grandma. She'll have a story. Now here's the part that gets people. It's not always logical, sometimes it's straight up emotional. Go on Reddit, search why I fixed instead of replacing, and you'll find hundreds of stories that are basically the same shape. Someone's mom passes away and there's a piece of jewelry that's broken, and instead of just buying new jewelry, they get it repaired. Because it's not about the object. One person wrote that their mother's dying wish was to get her jewelry fixed before she passed. Because she said, and I quote, she didn't want to pass on something broken. That's not frugality. That's not even really about the item. That's about not being ready to let go of what the item represents. And this connects to something you've probably heard of without realizing it, kintsugi. It's the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with actual gold, so the cracks don't get hidden, they get highlighted. The philosophy is that the breakage is part of the object's history now, not something to be ashamed of. And honestly, a lot of fixer personalities operate exactly like this without even knowing the word for it. They don't want a version of their life where nothing ever broke. They want the version where it broke, and they were the one who put it back together. But here's a twist, because it's not always the fixer's choice anymore. There's a reason this whole conversation is getting louder lately. And it's not just nostalgia. It's because companies have made fixing things almost impossible on purpose. It's called planned obsolescence, and no, that's not a conspiracy theory, it's a documented, actual practice. Back in the 1920s, there was literally a group called the Phoebus Cartel Real Light Bulb Manufacturers who got together and agreed to cut the lifespan of light bulbs in half. On purpose. So people would have to buy more of them. And that mindset never really left. Fast forward to recent years, and Apple and Samsung were both fined in Italy for deliberately slowing down old phones to push people toward new ones. So think about that for a second. The fixer instinct used to be normal. Your grandpa's whole generation fixed everything because that's just what you did when something broke. But now, companies design things to be unfixable. Glued shut batteries, proprietary screws, warranty void if open stickers that, by the way, are mostly not even legally enforceable, but they scare people anyway. So the modern fixer isn't just fighting their own broken toaster, they're kind of fighting an entire system that wants them to give up and buy new. Which honestly makes the people who still learn how to fix things feel a little bit like rebels. Okay, so tell me, team fix it or team just replace it, no guilt. Comment fix or comment replace right now, no in between, I want to see which one wins. Now, and this is the part psychologists actually warn about, this mindset has a shadow side. Because fix don't replace is a great philosophy for a broken chair. It is not always a great philosophy for a broken relationship, a toxic job, or a situation that's genuinely done. Some people take that same wiring, I can fix this. I just need more effort, and apply it to things that were never meant to be fixed. And that's where healthy persistence quietly turns into something else. It stops being about competence and starts being about fear. Fear of admitting something's over. Fear of what it means about you if you couldn't save it. So here's the actual question worth sitting with. Are you fixing something because you genuinely believe it's worth saving? Or are you fixing it because letting go feels like losing? Because those are two completely different reasons, even though from the outside, they look exactly the same. So next time you catch yourself staring at something broken, deciding whether to fix it or toss it, notice what your brain actually does. Notice if it's really about the object, or about what fixing it proves to you. Either way, there's no wrong answer here. The world needs both people who know when to fix, and people who know when to let go. If you saw yourself in this video even a little, hit subscribe, because we're doing way more of these deep dives into the weird little psychology patterns that explain why we actually do the things we do. And seriously, go comment which type you are. I read every single one.